Greetings. My name is Louise Dente, and I welcome you to yet another edition of Cultural Caravan. On this edition is a special as we focus on our health and wellness, and we're joined by a renowned health practitioner, Sister Yocheved Bat Imedt. She is a nurse, she is a clinician, healing arts practitioner, licensed massage therapist, you name it. Let's welcome Yocheved to Cultural Caravan. Welcome. All right. I just wanted to first talk about one of the things that reason why we were so excited about you joining us is because you focus and you've developed an alternative method of dealing with asthma. For those in the audience who may not be fully clear about what asthma is, please tell us what it is.
Well, I'm going to paint a picture. I think when I paint a picture, it'll be easier. Physiologically, asthma is an airway obstruction. And it occurs when someone has allergies and the body overreacts. So you might look at asthma as an overreaction to what is perceived as an attack, and creates an obstruction. The obstruction is a result of excessive mucus occurring, the narrowing of the airways, and that is causing the obstruction. And for most people, the environment doesn't bother them, smells don't bother them, generally foods may not bother them. And so when things come into their system, it's just handled. Normally, you don't have any reaction or anything bothering you. But with an asthmatic, when the body perceives that something doesn't belong there, it overreacts, it overresponds. And that overreaction is what causes the obstruction. It's the spasming of the airways, which is then going to be creating a lot of mucus, which then causes inflammation, and then the narrowing of the airway. And then you have a full-blown asthma attack.
So one of the things that the challenge with asthma is that millions of people across the world have asthma, and is estimated that over 5,000 people actually die from asthma each year, or is there more? Or would you say?
In the United States, it's over 3,600 that die, but globally, 300,000 die every year from asthma.
Now, I know that you mentioned that you were impacted your own, personally, and what led you. So leading to that, what led you as a nurse practitioner to determine that it was time to find a alternative way from the nebulizers and all the other things that people take to actually deal with this very serious ailment that that affects millions of people?
Well, let me see. My daughter was born in 80. So it was around 1980. She developed asthma when when she was about 2. And I had been always involved in holistic health and healing since 1977. And even before 77, but 1977 is when I became licensed massage therapist. I graduated from nursing school. So when she was about 2, I noticed that she was having problems running. She would get out of breath, and then she would be upset, and she was having problems breathing. So I took her to the hospital, and I took her to get a diagnosis. And once I got the diagnosis, then I treated her totally holistically. I never gave her nebulizers or any of that. I treated her totally holistically. So working with her over the years, and then other people who knew that I was a holistic practitioner, and they requested to be treated holistically in terms of their asthma, things that they could do. Working in the emergency room, I was always, for some reason, in the asthma section. So what I noticed was that the asthmatics would be sitting up in the emergency room literally for hours and hours and hours. How long have you been? 12 hours, 13 hours, 10 hours, 9 hours. And they would be drinking this ice water. And they wouldn't be getting any better. So I don't know how I came to be the one, but the invisible beings like planted in my head, "Nope, there's another way. You have to be the one." And it was like, no ice water. And then I started thinking it through. Well, that makes sense, because the ice water constricts the bronchioles. The water has to be room temperature or slightly on the warm side, because that would relax the bronchioles. So I started, soon as they came in, because the beings also said, my invisible guardians, what I always say, they told me to give the water before they had their nebulizer treatment. You give them the water first, and that would loosen up the secretions and make the medicine more effective. So I started doing that. I started giving them, well, they had the little 6-ounce cups. So I'd give them about 6 cups before they would take their nebulizer. I can't drink that much. Go ahead and drink. And I'd give them their treatment. Then I'd give them, at that time they took an epi injection. I'd give them that. And after 15 minutes, I'd repeat it, and they'd get 3 doses. They'd be good to go. So we're looking at an hour and a half, 2 hours at the max. They'd be ready to go home. Now, if they weren't ready to go home, that meant that they were in more of a severe distress. So then I would go and tell the doctor, listen, because I realized that the most important thing, and all healing takes place during sleep. Sitting up in the chair all night, they weren't going to get any better. So I would go to the doctor and I say, listen, I'm putting Mr. So-and-so on the stretcher so that they can get some rest. I'm going to start an IV because they've had 3 treatments and it hasn't helped. So I'm going to start an aminophlin drip and put them on the stretcher. Oh, okay. So that's what I would do. And while they were on the stretcher, I would be doing reflexology on their feet, on the respiratory portion of the foot, and I would be doing contact healing to the chest. So I'm going to come back to what that is, but just know that that's what I would be doing. And then they would fall asleep, which is what I would be expecting, and they would get up to go pee because they get in the fluids and they had drank all that water before. But after a number of hours, they'd either be ready to go home in the morning, or if they weren't ready to go home, then they were sent to the floor feeling much better. So working the emergency room, I developed the hospital protocol. Now, my favorite was the public protocol. I developed that in the public school in the Bronx when I was a school nurse. I was in the South Bronx, and this particular school was like a mini emergency room. The kids were going home like every day. And it took 2 nurses. That's how busy it was. And it was one kid every day. You knew it was 1 o'clock. Just get on the phone, call his mom. He was there. He was having an asthma attack every day at 1 o'clock. You didn't even have to look at the time. You knew it was 1 o'clock. So it was about 35 asthmatics. And at that time, they didn't have what they have now, the 504s, where the physician fills out the paper and they come in and they bring their medicine and come to the nurse, da-da-da. They didn't have all of that. They would come with nothing. There was only 2 children, I think, that had medication. The one kid coming in every day, and then one other student that had her nebulizer. That was it. So one day I said to the school nurse, because I would be treating them using my protocol, I said to the school nurse, you know what? I'm going to tell the principal that I really want to institute this protocol as a formality, and so that we can cut back from them coming to the office. Because when I would treat them, they would go back to class, and they wouldn't need anything else. And I'd just call their parents and say they had an asthma attack, but they okay. And the kid would speak to the parent, so the parent would know they okay. So the principal said, yes, that would be a good idea. I said, but the only thing is, they can't have any dairy. No dairy at lunch. You have to cut out the dairy for them at lunch. They have to have something as a substitute. So she said, well, with that, you got to have the parents send in a note saying, no dairy for my child at lunchtime. And my child can't have it as allergies or whatever they want to say, but no dairy. So I said, okay. So it was 35 students. I called up 35 parents. And you know, there's always one that doesn't comply. In this case, 35 students, 35 letters. I called the parents. I told them what I was doing. They were very interested. Some even came up to the school because they wanted to learn. I had a big asthma control chart up. In fact, the asthma control chart looked very similar to this, except that it was a big, what do you call it, 20 by 20 kind of thing. So they were both side by side, but the chart was big. And so I had that up, hanging up, and I told the students what it was that I wanted to do. And they were very interested. And I said, but you're not going to be able to have any ice cream, no pizza, no, cut out all the bread, maybe half of a sandwich with bread, so you're not having a lot of bread. And you're going to have to drink a lot of water every day. You want to do that? They said yes. I said, you sure? They said yes. I said, okay. So the protocol was instituted. The kids would come down in pairs. The big asthma control chart was up, and we were always busy. So I'd say to the kid that brought the asthmatic, okay, you look on the chart, you see the points on there, that's what you're going to take off his shoes and you're going to press those points. And then I would show them how to use the tip of the finger and press. I would show them on their hand so they would know the depth and how to do it. And then I would show them how to do the contact healing. So while I'm busy with another student and the nurse is busy with the other student, they're getting treatment. Then when we got freed up, we take over. And by the time let's say about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, that child could go back to class. Without any medication, that child could go back to class. I call the parent, so-and-so was here, but they're okay, here, speak to them, and they would go back to class. That first year, half of the students started coming in. It had got cut in half.
Wow.
The second year, only 2 students for the whole year went home.
Wow.
Including the one kid that used to go home every day. He went home one time for the year. And there was another kid that went home. That was it, 2 kids for the year. And I left that school that year, and I called the following year because the same nurse was there. I said, how are they doing? She said, fine. Nobody's going home. No, because she continued
Wow,
the
that's great.
protocol.
Wonderful.
So that's how I developed the public protocol, working in the public school. So I developed the 3 protocols, the holistic protocol, the hospital protocol, and the public protocol. And the protocol that I produced the video for that's online now, that has gotten over 325,000 views, that is the public protocol.
Now, you said a lot, and basically you said that there are holistic, healthy ways other than using chemicals to control asthma. Now, and also the fact that you empowered these children to do it themselves, that they didn't need the nebulizer, they were able to know the pressure points. Now, and the fact that reflexology is a tool by which you were able to connect and release these blockages, which is something that we need to learn more of. Let's talk about if someone, let's say you're walking down the street or you're sitting at a family gathering and a relative all of a sudden is having an asthma attack. What would you suggest someone do in a situation like that?
Okay, that's funny you should ask me about that, because I have developed a training, FAFA, First Aid for Asthma Attacks. And that training teaches you what to do when someone is having an asthma attack, even if they have no medication. And it is based on the protocols in my book, Golden Wings. You have a copy
And
of
just
that?
just say the name of the we'll put it up.
Yeah,
So what's the name?
Golden Wings, Holistic Approach to Managing Asthma. So when someone is having an asthma attack, the first thing that you want to do, you want to assess what level is the attack. Is it a mild, is it a moderate, or is it a severe stage? Because at each stage, you would do something different. The bottom line is that once you assess, let's say it's a mild stage, the important thing, bottom line, is that you want to prevent escalation. You do not want it to escalate. That is the primary thing that you want to not happen. And if someone is in a severe state is a life-threatening state where they're not able to breathe. They're not able to speak. You know you have to get them to the hospital by hook or crook. You either drive them yourself, you call it 911, or you get a cab. Whatever comes first, that's what you go with. So now, just to give you a quick idea of what I mean by mild, moderate, and severe. A mild attack, just watch me. Ask me what's wrong.
Why are you rocking? What's happening?
I thought I had my inhaler, but I left it home, and I feel a little tight, but I'll be all right.
Is there anything I can get you? Is there anything I can do?
I'll just get some water.
Okay, I have
got
some cold.
water.
I got some cold water.
No,
in
no,
the
no,
freezer.
no, no. I got some. I don't drink cold water. I got some water in my
okay.
bag, so I'll be okay.
Oh, okay.
Now, that was a mild attack. Do you notice? Can you tell me what you noticed?
Well, I saw you rocking. It's
that
like
was just me.
unbalanced. It just seemed like you were a little flustered, like you really were kind of like told a little winded, not yourself.
But did you notice? But how was I speaking?
You were speaking kind of slow, little like it wasn't as fluid as normal. It's just you weren't yourself. Meaning, I definitely noticed that there was something different in your manner and the way you handled yourself. That something was not going right.
With a mild attack, you generally won't notice that there's anything wrong because the person is speaking in fluid sentences. And the only way that you would really know is if they told you. Like when I told you I left my inhaler home, so I was kind of annoyed because I don't have my inhaler. But other than that, I'm speaking regular.
Okay.
Now, ask me what's wrong.
Are you okay? You look like you can't. You can't. Oh no.
I left my inhaler in the house.
Is there anything that I can do? Is this like what? I mean, let me get something for you.
Now, that was a moderate attack. You saw the difference. In a moderate attack, you obviously can see that something is wrong. There's a use of the accessory muscles. The speech is choppy. And you know that they're going to need attention right away. Where's your inhaler? Where's some water? You know that they're going to need attention because they are having difficulty breathing. Now, the third one.
Oh no. Oh my gosh. What can I? Oh my goodness. Do you have anything that? Oh my goodness. Help!
Now, that's a severe asthma attack. You never want anyone to be in that stage because the next stage is respiratory arrest. When they're in that stage, that means the airway is just about totally blocked. They're not able to speak or they can barely speak. When they're in that state, you're not looking for water, you're not looking for an inhaler, you're looking to call 911. Or if you have a cab that you can call right away, or EMS that you can call right away, or drive them right away. You're either driving them in a car, you're calling EMS, and you're calling a cab. Because sometimes it takes long for an EMS, but if you call a cab, call EMS, whoever gets there first, you're rushing them to the hospital. There's no time to waste. You rushing them to the hospital. That's the 3 stages. And that's the most important thing, to recognize those 3 stages and to prevent what?
A serious attack.
To prevent a serious attack, you want to prevent escalation.
Exactly. Now, for those in the audience who might want to know more about how they can support or save a life, as well as find out about the coursework, could you give us some information or website that someone could contact you?
Yes. In fact, I have a phone number in my bag.
Well, can you give us a website? Let's start
Yes,
there.
they can go to www.firstaidforasthmaattacks.com.
Okay, say that again. Just let the audience.
www.firstaid, that's FIRST, aid, AID, for FOR, asthma attacks.com. Firstaidforasthmaattacks.com. And asthma is ASTHMA. Attacks, plural.com.
And we will definitely make sure that the audience gets that. And certainly, I really want to sincerely thank you, sis, because the information you shared will definitely help save a life, and has saved, I'm sure, millions of people. And particularly the fact that this is a disease that can be controlled with natural methods rather than chemicals.
And,
so, yeah.
And it can be controlled, or yes, it can be controlled primarily through diet. And part of what I teach is what to eat to help you to stay healthy. And I will be doing a number of trainings on first aid for asthma attacks. Plus, once the editing is finished, I forgot to mention, we filmed an online training June 26th, and that online training is in the editing process. Once it's edited, it'll go up online, and people from all over the world will have access to ordering the training and being able to learn what to do when someone is having an asthma attack. Right now, the website is up and available. It's under being revamped, so in a few months when you go back on, it's not going to look the same.
Exactly.
But all the information is there, and when you go back in a few months, you'll see the training, the online training. But I do teach in-person classes for groups of 10 or more.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, on behalf of Cultural Caravan, we want to sincerely thank you and salute the work you've done in terms of empowering us with the knowledge of how to heal ourselves. Thank you so much, Sister Yocheved.
And thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate it, because asthma has become an epidemic, and it's 300 million people globally that have asthma. 25 million in this country, and many of them are children, and many children die from asthma attacks. So,
thank you. Thank you.